Welcome back. We're in section 3. We're going to be sourcing it up with CSS3. Now in this section, we're going to learn about CSS3 different colors, shapes, and sizes. We're also going to be working with shadows, creating buttons, and editing the images and videos. Colors, shapes, and sizes. Building a website is not just all black and white picture, or, not anymore anyway. Now we can add a tedious little task to make our websites look even better. By utilizing with CSS3, we can add color to our text and div elements. We can resize images, div elements, text fonts. We can even make a few different shapes out of whatever we have. Welcome to Responsive Web Development with CSS3. In this section of the course, we're going to be discussing more specifically about colors. Now in this video, talking about colors, we can utilize just a plain black color, which is normally optimized for certain aspects of your website. However, it's not always as practical as creating a colorful font as well as backgrounds. Now, in order to achieve this, we're going to utilize a few different techniques here. We're going to discuss all the options that you can use for colors and how to use the colors. Now, the previous video of HTML5, we have built our web page and created two different pages, an about page and a contact page. But how does this look? Let's go ahead and pull this up right quick so we can see what our website actually looks like prior to adding CSS3 to it. And here we go. We have our H1 header. For our top header bar, we have our unordered list for our menu. We also have our H3 header, which is the top of the body. We have our picture, which is rather large. We have our audio file right here. We have our first paragraph, our welcoming paragraph. And then we have our video that we embedded directly from YouTube. Looks great. Not really. Not unless you're doing a 1990s website. Even still, could be more visually perfect. So let's go ahead and start on that. So in order to create our CSS page, what we need to do is right-click on the root directory and then click New File. I'm going to call mine GUI.css. You can call yours whatever you want. My CSS styles, fonts, colors, whatever you want to do it. So we're going to do GUI.css. Now sometimes, depending on the size of the application you have, generally speaking, what a lot of companies do is they'll have multiple CSS pages. One will be for colors, one will be for shapes, one will be for heading elements, one will be for, you'll have like a whole slew of CSS pages. And each page directs a specific target, like your text and fonts, shapes and sizes, and all kinds of different things in there. For the practicality, we're just going to use one CSS. Now, what we're going to do for our colors is we're going to grab our H1 element, and we're going to go ahead and give every one of our heading elements a specific color. And we could do that by going to our CSS and doing H1, H2, H3, H4, H5, and H6. Now what this is going to do is every single one of the heading elements that we'd ever put into our website is going to have these default attributes. So if we was to go ahead and set our color by doing color, we can do pound, and then we can give it a lime green color. Now lime green can be 0F0, which is a 3-digit hex code, or 00FF00, which is a 6-digit hex code. And then finally we could use RGB, red, green, blue, and this is going to be 0,255, 0. Either one of those three will get you the lime green font. So if we save this and we pull up our website, we refresh it, it's still black. Well, why is that? We've got it set right here, but we forgot to create a link from the HTML to the CSS, so the browser does not know, hey, there's a CSS file that we can use to reference and make these look better. We're going to go ahead and create our link. This is going to pull a link to, it's going to tell the browser, okay, we've got a link coming in, and we're fixing to tell it what this link is. So let's do a rel equals style sheet. Now this is basically like saying the relative aspect of it. What is this? It's going to be a style sheet. But what type of style sheet? This is going to be text CSS. Right now we've created a link to our GUI CSS. The relative of that is going to be a style sheet, and the type of style sheet is a text CSS. Now let's give it a link, and we're going to do a ref equals GUI.css. If you named your CSS something different, just replace GUI with whatever you named yours. Now, if we was to save this, open up our browser again, and then refresh, our fonts have turned green. Now, one other way we can do this is by calling specific classes, by creating classes, if you would. So what we're going to do here is we're going to create a specific class for our H1 element. So, as an example, if we want this one to be blue, let's go ahead and let's do a period blue, just for the sake of the argument. All right, so right now, let's do color equals, let's do #00F using a 3-digit hex. All right, so we save this, come over here, refresh, it's still green. That's because we did not declare this H1's class. So if we was to come over here, do class equals, open parentheses, blue, and then save it, then we refresh our page, it then becomes blue, even though the default version of this is still green. And if we was to take that class out of here, it would go back to green. Alrighty, now another thing that we're going to talk about right quick is transparency backgrounds. And this usually comes in handy if you have like an image for a background and you want that image to pop through, but you still want the wordage to be displayed. So what we're going to do is for our header class right here, for our header element, we're going to create a section in our GUI to have a transparent background. And we're going to set that color to black with a transparency setting of 0.6, which is about 60% transparency. So let's go ahead and do header and then open it up with the curly brackets. Now inside here, we're going to do background. You can either do background : or you can do background -color. Either one will give you the same effect of what we're about to do. Alright, so the first way we're going to do this is by doing the pound sign. We're going to do #000. There we go. Now we've given our header a black background. Come over here and refresh our page. Here's our black background. However, we wanted opacity or transparency. We could do that one of two different ways. And I'm going to show you the traditional CSS way. And that's by doing opacity equals 0.6. So we save that, come over here. We now have it to where it's very much, the 60% transparency level. But so is our font, and it was very hard to read, especially if you had an image for a background. So how can we fix this? CSS3 comes along and says, hey, use RGB plus A, red, green, blue, and then it gives it the transparency with just the A. So let's do RGBA. Alright, so we're going to do 0, 0, 0, 0.6. And then close that off. Now what we've done is we've called our background color to be black, and then we set the transparency to 0.6. So now we refresh it. The background stays exactly the same transparency color, but now our font is actually the perfect color. It pops out and it really shows. So now there's two different ways you could have set your transparency as well as background colors. And to give you an example of that, to set the background image so you can have a more visual aspect of this, we can do a body tag, open it up and do background URL, open it up, and then do img, what is that? It's image1, so img1.jpg. Now if we save that, come over here to our web browser and then refresh the page. There's how it would look if we had our background image. With the transparency, you can still see through it. You still have the beautiful pop out effects of the fonts inside of the element. And here's our transparency. So you can have a better visual understanding versus just a white background. Now, the same thing can be applied for our unordered list as well as any hyperlinks we have. So if we wanted to create, for an example, let's say we wanted to do our ul, li, we could set the color to, you know what, let's do it this way. Let's go ahead and create our unordered list as a solid background, and then each list item will have its own color. So let's do our ul, and then we'll do background. Let's set this one to RGBA. Set this to blue, so we'll do 0, 0, 0, 255, and then we're going to go ahead and call it 0.6 opacity. And then our list item, our li, we will have that background. No, let's leave that background the same. Let's do color equals red. Not sure how well this will work out, as far as the colors goes, but let's work. Alrighty, so now we have our blue transparent background, and we have our text inside here as red, but our hyperlinks are still blue color. Well, we can come in here, as we can do, which is the A element inside of our website, and we can set that color to red. Now, if we save that, come back over here, now our hyperlinks are red. And you can change that by changing the actual code itself. So if you want like a pink color, you can do that by adding it this way. And there's your pink font. And there's how you can set that up.